Union, the better option for you and your money. Visit techcu.org or call 800-276-8324. Tech Credit Union, supporting union families every step of the way.
Enjoy the convenience of letting our to-go team shop for you. Enjoy your special moments. Sign up online today at shop.strackandvantil.com.
From the gas in your car to the heat in your home and the roads that you drive on, our work powers daily life. We are USW Local 71, the proud men and women of the Whiting Refinery. We're not just refinery workers. We're your friends and neighbors, raising our families here, shopping in the same stores, and cheering in the same stands. USW Local 71, powering the region because we are the region.
Hey, everybody, welcome in. This is the Wieser Podcast. We're recording it in late January of 2026 on one of the coldest days you could even think about, as some of that cold is seeping into us here at the 102-year-old radio station. We are live on the air. You're going to put us on the YouTube there? Or you're going to leave the logo up there? Oh, yeah, my fault. There you go. Adriana Alvarez, who is the producer and the head of the WJOB Podcast Network. All you got to do is go to Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts, and just type in WJOB Podcast Network, and you'll get a number of podcasts, of which one of them presents the life and times of one Jim Wieser, certainly a very politically active lawyer for generations. I first interviewed him in 1985 as the president of the Lake County Council, and we've been friends ever since. But now's a good time to get Jim's perspective on what's going on in the world. And I say that with full respect for with your opinions, not that I always agree with them. How's that sound?
Well, yeah, most people don't, but it sounds fine to me.
Jim, I'm going to go straight at this one. And it is a local topic. A lot of times we hit some of the national topics, but the Bears are thinking, supposedly, of coming to Northwest Indiana. Your thoughts?
Well, first, I think this is a national topic. I really do. Certainly a Midwest region topic because of the implications and significance of a team that's been associated with the city of Chicago for 100-plus years. Deciding that maybe it's time to go elsewhere because they can't work out a satisfactory deal with the state of Illinois, not so much the city of Chicago, but the state of Illinois. So I think it's sort of exemplifies what's going on in sports and in major sports. The issue from my perspective as a political guy, the issue between or whether or not governmental entities should finance professional football teams to some extent, and it seems to be the way of the world. And there's pros and cons, and I won't necessarily get into that. What's important, what I think is significant, is you and I were both here in the mid-'90s, early to mid-'90s, when the issue came up that the Bears were looking and wanted to extricate themselves from the lease they had with the Park District in Chicago, and came over here. And I think the conclusion many of us came to was that it was not real. It was more, let's go over there and use it as leverage to gain some advantage with the Park Department of the City of Chicago. I don't think it's that way this time. You don't think we are negotiating tactic? We may be tangentially, but I don't think we are directly. I think this is a legit effort. And one of the reasons I say that, I saw Governor Pritzker from Illinois at a press conference the other day, and he was very carefully trying to backtrack a little bit on what the state of Illinois' position was, and maybe there might be some ability to do something. And now that can constitute leverage, but I think if if you're going to have a weekend where the Bears are in the playoffs, and you're going to have Roger Goodell, the commissioner of the NFL, and the leadership and ownership of the Bears over here to look at sites, I think that goes a little bit beyond this is just leverage. There's some great locations here. We all know that there's a number of NFL franchises that have the name, whatever it might be, the New York Jets or the New York Giants that don't play. They play in New Jersey. They don't play in their city. There's others. Dallas plays in Arlington. They don't play in Dallas. So I think there's an openness to that. And I think that we have some wonderful locations that are being tossed out there. From the initial one, from the one that Mayor McDermott offered in Hammond, which I think has a lot of interesting features to it because it would be an incredible remediation of a brownfield site, although the site's been remediated, but this would be what that's all about. But then you've got the 3 sites that were rolled out in Gary the other day. So there's a lot to it.
Well, you probably don't read my Substack yet, but you will.
I read every one of them.
All right. Well, thank you. And I just wonder what you think about my point that we have been an area that has underperformed, been underappreciated, and we've kind of internalized the external viewpoints of a corrupt, polluted, kind of backward area between Chicago and Indianapolis that really doesn't get much attention, nor does it deserve. Now all of a sudden you have Nippon doesn't pay $15 billion ostensibly for a big plant on Gary without checking our infrastructure and who we are out. BP does the same thing with the refinery. Microsoft, Google, Amazon, all building data centers around here. They don't build that in places that can't handle it, the power-wise, the infrastructure, the leadership. All of those factors go into it. My point is that we're winning the game right now, and people are looking at us. And are we prepared for that?
Being prepared, I guess, could mean a lot, something different to some other people. Are we prepared for it from an infrastructure perspective? Pretty well. Certainly, I think the expansion of the fiber optics system in northwest Indiana and in Lake County in particular has been really significant over the last 10 years. NIPSCO is involved in a major way of providing additional energy that is needed, and even to the extent of having negotiating and contracting with other power sources, not just electrical power, but for example, I did a project about a year and a half ago, I guess, down on State Route 2, off of I-65, just east of I-65, and it was a battery energy storage system, and we got approved. The county approved it a lot that we had to go through. It was thoroughly vetted, and was approved, and they are a source of alternate energy. They have the NIPSCO has a major transmission line there. They can connect to the transmission line and provide, when needed, an alternate source of power. There's solar power that's being used in a cooperative manner. So our infrastructure is really strong here. I remember I went to John Carroll University in Cleveland, and so all you did was go down the toll road. You went from the Indiana toll road to the Ohio Turnpike, made the appropriate exit, and you were there. And I remember many of my classmates saying, who came from the Catholic schools in Chicago, said, why don't you guys save us all the trouble and let's just pick Indiana up and move Illinois and Ohio together, because Northwest Indiana just sucks going through it. All you see is steel mills and this and that, and nobody thought about what that meant to our economy. They never thought about that. Now it's a different story now. They recognize, and I talk to friends that I still see and talk to, and they know that we are a source in Northwest Indiana to be reckoned with. And that translates to, I think, to the NFL and to the football team. That's just a natural extension of it. Yeah, we have a bit of a checkered past. We can make that argument about corruption, whether it be business-wise or whether it be political-wise, but that's not the case anymore. That's just simply not the case. We're more modernized. People are more aware of it. We have folks here. Let's just take real quick Whiting, for example. Look at that community. Young professionals that work in Chicago, that live in Whiting, find out what a great place it is, what a wonderful place Indiana is to live. Our taxing structure is fair. Costs are better here. Transportation routes are good here. So there's a lot that we can be proud of, and we're moving in that direction. But, it's not easy to forget, and I don't ever ask anybody to forget the past. We could learn from the past and move forward, and I think that's where we are.
So, I mean, you make great points, and I agree almost with all of them, especially the fiber and the data center and the internet infrastructure. People don't realize that basically the main trunk of railroads comes through here, and the main trunk of highways comes through here, and we have huge international port for ships to come in here. But you don't realize that the main internet line comes right under the South Shore tracks.
Yes, it does.
And so all of this is converging so that massive companies are realizing, well, we may be able to put some money there. That is one of the reasons why I think the Bears thing is not simply a bargaining chip, in that the Bears are smart and they're like, man, we could get it cheap right now. It may not be cheap in 5 or 10 years. As a matter of fact, it won't be. So I think that everything's cheap right now. Your house has gone up 60, 70% in value. That's just the beginning. You go over here to New Lenox and that house is worth double, and they're paying triple or quadruple the taxes.
Yep.
So, there are a lot of different factors that go into that. But let's just celebrate that we are kind of hot right now. Okay, let's leave that and go to the second part. And if you read my Substack, you know where I'm heading. I ask, are we ready for it? Or do we internalize it, I guess? It's more of a almost a socio-psychological thing. Are we internalizing what we're becoming? But the second part is, are we prepared to act on it as one?
I think we're probably getting there, but are we actually prepared? That's maybe to be seen. From a political perspective and a governmental perspective, we're more prepared now than we'd been in the past. Obviously, it could be a very competitive factor in how a site is chosen, but you heard Governor Braun in his State of the State speak. When was the last time you heard a governor, maybe Evan Bayh or Frank? I'm forgetting Frank's last name. O'Bannon. That when they would speak about it, but you hear Braun praising Northwest Indiana and offering the support and resources from the state. That doesn't happen very often, if at all. So you've got the governor and the state legislature has established a commission. So and working with Northwest Indiana representatives, that's fairly unusual. That's a good sign. So I think that, and one other thing I want to add, I do, as you know, I do a lot of development work. And my experience, having done this, the major part of my law practice for the last 25 years or more, the governmental entities that have to take action that on whatever it might be, whether it's a data center, whether it's a major commercial development or a major residential subdivision, they're a lot smarter and have a lot more understanding of how to use the tools that are available to them. And how to make decisions on development, and they hold the developers' feet to the fire and their legal counsel a lot more than used to be because they're smarter about it. They're more aware of it, and that can help overcome what might be some barriers between communities when it comes to like a site selection. That would be a challenge.
Well, you kind of are on the skirting edge of what I consider one of our weaknesses in getting a major project done. Like the Bears are major. You know, U.S. Steel or to sale to Nippon, that was kind of a national discussion. But we have 19 overlapping municipal taxing jurisdictions in Lake County. If you just keep it there, and Porter County's not much better. There's less and spread out more, but it's just overlapping municipal taxing jurisdictions. We don't have a heart and a core in a city and a main force that can bring everybody together to say, hey, let's get this thing done. We have been here before, Jim. In 1994, I watched Chris Morrow on national news talk about what a great place Northwest Indiana would be for the Bears. Turns out they were just using us to get a better deal out of Illinois. But ultimately, even then, and the problem now, is that we don't have that centralized leadership to make the kind of decisions. You already see it in Gary and Hammond kind of going at it for the location. And, you know, who's the actual negotiating factor for this whole area? It's a weakness. And how do we overcome that horizontal leadership to get something really big area-wide done?
That has always been the challenge. Always been. We always, at least in my days as an elected official, I always thought that the organization that could help to overcome that was the Regional Planning Commission, Northwest Indiana Regional Planning Commission, and I was a member of that for 8 or 9 years.
How many on that board?
Too many.
I went and covered it once. I go, I'm never covering this again. This is ridiculous. How could you make a decision? Who's in charge?
Yeah.
And you know what it reminded me of? The old little Calumet River Basin Development Commission, which was a fiasco.
Right.
So, anyways, I won't.
And I'm not disagreeing with you on that. And I experienced that as a member and as an officer of that organization. And I began to realize that, and they probably made a wise decision when they really, really focused on transportation, because they were the transportation.
Jim Ranfranz.
Jim Ranfranz, Norm Tufford.
Yes, I interviewed all them in the 80s.
That crew, and I was there with them. It turned out that it wasn't what I had hoped it would be. People have made some attempts, and I'll just tell you one, just go back into the historical government bag here. Tom McDermott Sr., as you may recall, in 83, won a victory over Ed Ruskowski and became the Republican mayor of Hammond. The 4th District of Hammond was in my county council district, and I was elected the year before as a councilman. And I got to know Tom really well. We were on the Regional Planning Commission together. We actually were the first chairman and vice chairman of the Borman Task Force. And we worked on a lot of things. So Tom and I got together, and I don't want to say jokingly because that's not accurate, but knowing what a difficult lift this was going to be, we proposed, not formally, but informally proposed, using Indianapolis as the model, a Unigov in Northwest Indiana, starting with North Township. And the reason we did that, not just because both he and I were super familiar with North Township representing it, and myself having grown up in it, but it had a lot of symmetry and synergy in it because you had 6 communities. You had, Whiting, East Chicago, Hammond, Munster, Highland, somebody else too.
Whiting, EC, Hammond, Munster, Highland. Now there is Griffith. So that's why there's 6. It was Griffith. 5 then.
Right, 5 then. Now, so, but of the 5, they all, with the exception of East Chicago, all the others had the same sewer system, same water system, a lot of other structural infrastructure type things that, because we were all on Hammond's water and we all dealt with their sanitary board and dealt with no, and I did include Griffith because Griffith at that time was also connected in that way to us in infrastructure wise, but they weren't part of North Township. And we said, we thought we had a really good idea and say, look, if we can make this work here, that now let's think of a way to expand it all throughout Lake County and find a way to do a modified form of Unigov in Lake County. I remember the first time we rolled it out, I didn't think we were going to get out of the meeting alive. I mean, the turf battle we started was crazy because there was no way they were going to give up, elected officials were going to think about the potential of having to give up some authority or some power. It's extremely difficult. I've told people this on many occasions, especially when I was on the county council, to try to address the needs and both from a political and governmental perspective of, at that time, 17 or 18 municipalities plus the other taxing districts. I think there's a way. I think using an entity like the RDC in conjunction with the IEDC, all the acronyms, makes sense, and that's where you can try to. You may laugh at it.
I'm not laughing at it. I'm just scoffing at it.
Okay,
that's just bureaucratic, putting my feet to sleep. When you start going RDC and IEDC, don't forget throw in the forum. Oh, how about one region? I mean, throw in all of these relatively ineffective organizations. I mean, they're effective in their sphere.
In their sphere, right?
Yeah, they're just like every town is effective in its sphere. But making one grandiose sphere, you have the same problem with all of the alphabet soup organizations that you have with each town and city. Nobody's going to give up their turf.
But I'm not asking them to give up their turf if you limit it to the RDC and IEDC, because that is the finance arm. That is the finance arm of the state of Indiana up here in Northwest Indiana. And if you utilize it for that purpose, and get them committed to it, to a project of this size and scope, the Chicago Bears, absent any other amazing attempt at trying to bring everybody together, that's probably the best you can do right now.
So, you see, we've gone through the 2 challenges. We've gone through the internalizing of, hey, man, can we be a player? Can we be number 1 Indiana and accept it? Like, hey, we're moving and we're it. Why does it have to be other people? Why can't it be us? Okay, we don't know how to think like that. And the second part is, you bring up Unigov and working together. I remember when Munster and Highland tried to put their fire departments together. I mean, it was near like modern warfare, and there's no possible way to get these communities to do anything like you're talking about. How can we be expected to have an area-wide support of any massive project? That's the point. Even our roads, they come from downstate. They're going to rip the Borman up for 3 years and spend hundreds or tens of millions of dollars redoing it and making it the most modern stretch of 14 miles of highway in America, with all the boards and all of the internet and stuff like that. It's coming from elsewhere. We could never do that. It crosses communities.
There are certain things we can't do, but I could tell you, this ties in, Dave Nellens did his show, the Munster Show, right before I got here, and we were talking outside, and And Dave and I started talking about the time that, all the way back to when I was on the town council, and it was right before he got on Munster's town council, where we did a joint agreement and we developed 45th Avenue in conjunction, Highland and Munster. Now, admittedly, it was a federal project. It was a FAU at that time, FAU project, Federal Aid Urban, and we expanded, widened, put the sewers in, and built a modern road that goes east-west, actually all the way through, literally all the way through to Porter County, almost. If you look at 45th Avenue, and
looks really good in Black Oak and in Maryville. It's amazing now.
It's amazing now.
People don't all drive there, but
I know.
It's don't tell anybody, because if you really want to cut over to Taft in a hurry, you get on that right now. But anyway,
absolutely. So, and we did that. That was a community where there were 5 Republicans that sat on the town council in Munster. There was 4 Democrats and 1 Republican that sat on the council in Highland with me. But we breezed right. I don't want to say breezed. There's a lot of work that went into it, a lot of engineering that went into it, and we worked that out jointly. And we did that project, and we did a major project on Ridge Road that involved crossing the Hart Ditch. We worked on some other projects with the city or with the town of Munster. And that's kind of where you have to start, I think, and we did. But I don't disagree with you that trying to do a major project of that, although I think data centers are major projects. I think a lot of other things are major projects that we've been successful in developing, but something that crosses town and city boundaries and city lines and has an impact, it's a challenge, no doubt.
So what should we do? Let's play the make-believe game on the way out here, okay? Let's just say we did have one focal point for area-wide decisions across 3 counties. And as some would probably like, I mean, say you're the man. They got to go through you. Here's what we need to do to get the Bears. Here's what we need to do to get data centers. Here's what we need to do to support Nippon and BP. And here's what we need to do to attract even larger stuff that may be thinking of coming to the Midwest. What do you do?
Well, I think we're doing some of it now. I mean, I don't think people don't support, there's remonstrators, but by and large, people support the development of Nippon Steel and so that jobs are retained or maybe even created. I think they do. I think they do as a whole support it, maybe in varying degrees, maybe some.
I agree with you. I agree with you that we have done good work.
Right. But
it's mostly inside communities, to be honest with you. You know, Gary has done a good job on the convention center and on Nippon. McDermott has done a great job with a good job also with the data center and all of that. You've had some major development in kind of the smaller communities with big land available that have been able to attract massive data centers. Yes, we're doing all of that. But what can we do as a region?
Well, I think what we can do is what we've been doing. I don't think you can't until you, in my opinion, until you were willing to commit to change jurisdictional boundaries, you're not going to change it. You're going to be able to chip away and do what you do. Can't be done.
That's the answer, I think, that I was looking for. And it wasn't like you asking a question in one of your legal proceedings where you know the answer. I'm literally searching for the answer. And you just hit on it, and I hadn't thought of it. Basically, the structure of our government and our related business, to some extent, precludes the coming together to get a massive project done.
Not to some extent, to the extent. Absolutely. And I've been fortunate enough to be in a position in my career, both governmental and legal practice and political. I mean, if you think it's difficult doing this, try to be a county chairman where you have 18 jurisdictions that your municipalities that each have their own political organization. I would go to state central committee meetings because I was on the state central committee, and sometimes I'd run into a new chairman from some county, Delaware County, Posey County, somewhere, Delaware maybe not, but Posey County and some others, and they would say, "So I'm from Lake County." Oh, that's really that's challenging. How do you do that? And I said, "Well, how many organizations are under you?" And they look at me like I've got two heads. And they said, "What do you mean?" I said, "Well, how many political organizations?" I said, "I am the political organization. We are the political organization." I said, "Okay, now take 18 of them." And they'd go, "Take what?" I'd say, "Take 18. 18 cities and towns that are under my umbrella, and tell me if you think you can work that one out." You know. So, and it's the same thing. It extends out.
Adriana wants them at exactly a certain length, so we have to end right now. This is the Wieser Podcast, and if you want to watch it, you can go to YouTube. And if you want to listen to it after Adriana cuts it up and posts it, it'll be on Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your podcast. Please tell your friends about it if you like what Wieser's talking about. But any input that you want to give on this podcast or any suggestions for other podcasts, all you got to do is email Adriana with 2 N's at WJOB1230.com, the voice and face of the region.
We're done.
But you're live, so watch what you say.
Hold on.
She's having a technical problem.
Simeon does not want to.
I see what you're doing. You got to restart that computer. So, Adriana,
yes,
I have to leave.
Me too.
ahead.
Right this second. So does he. So you're going to have to talk till you restart that computer.
High school basketball postseason is here, with the girls starting February 3rd and boys March 3rd. Be on every game for as low as $1,500. Sponsor local. Reach millions. Visit heartlandsportsnet.com today for more information. St. Nicholas Byzantine Catholic